What's up, my Madden Rebuild Warriors? My name is David. This is Franchise Revival, and this is a Broncos rebuild update. We haven't done one of these in a while, but we've been rebuilding in real time with the content that I put out there. The playbooks I use and the abilities I use, they all go in this rebuild. So when I'm failing and you're failing, and then we're updating playbooks, I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm putting those playbooks into practice in this rebuild. So let's call this the Super Bowl years, how we got here, what playbooks and abilities we used. There's a lot of little tidbits throughout this video. And speaking of Super Bowls, my Eagles are going to the Super Bowl to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. I couldn't be more excited, but let's get into the Broncos and see what they do in the Super Bowl. All right, so when I last left you, we won the Super Bowl finally, 41-35 over the defending Super Bowl champion Detroit Lions. And that time, Ben Hyde was our Super Bowl MVP, and he left right after that. Defensive Player of the Year for the Broncos was Andrew Dunn. I believe at this time we were, what playbook were we in? We were in the Packers, I believe. I think. I do not remember that, but we failed to repeat, and then we did win again in 2034. Andrew Dunn was now the MVP of the Super Bowl. So back-to-back Super Bowls for us with defensive players. Bo Nix was the MVP of the league. Micah Medlock was the offensive player of the league. We had the Rookie of the Year in Richard Booker. We were in the Broncos offensive playbook, and life was cooking, right? Life was cooking. We were doing very well. And then what happened? Well, the Broncos playbook got nerfed, and we didn't realize it for a little bit. Micah Medlock, this is us rebuilding in real time using the things that I put out there in practice, and everyone knows this rebuild, so that's why I'm using this one. There's other ones that are just my personal ones and having fun and stuff like that. Micah Medlock was the offensive player of the year, but it wasn't that hard to do that still in the Broncos playbook. The Bills were the Bills. They've had a great rebuild. They won years ago with Josh Allen. They had a mini dynasty, and now they have a new quarterback, and he's doing quite well in the Bills playbook. And they've always been tough to get through. And then last year, where we're going to pick up from, we lost to the Colts in the AFC Championship game. And as you can see, Micah Medlock is the offensive player again. Paul Heenan, our new quarterback, who we drafted and sat for 2 years and slowly built up, waiting for Bo Nix to finally just be releasable. But I think we rode Bo Nix until he was like 34, 35. So there's that. This is where we're picking up from. Let's get into it. To the end of the 2038 season, we got the wild card. We are first in points, first in pass yards, but down from last year. 8th in rush yards, 2nd in points allowed, 14th in pass defense, and 8th in rush yards. It's kind of the league doesn't rush that much anymore. Let's look at the stats, which matter. Kind of a down year. Touchdown wise, Paul Heenan still 4,700 yards is pretty good. Still messing around with abilities. 43 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. I was hoping we'd be over 5,050 touchdowns, but didn't happen. A lot of that went to Marco Meredith getting 18 touchdowns, and Paul Heenan rushing in 6 touchdowns. So it kind of took away from his throwing. Touchdown paralysis. Micah Medlock might have went over 100 yards, 100 catches if he didn't miss a game. He would have went over 1,400 yards, maybe 1,500 yards. So he's down to 88 speed, even though he's got extremely good acceleration. Could that be hurting his numbers? Could it be that Paul Heenan has abilities now and that's bringing him down? I think so. 18 touchdowns for him. Cliff Preston, 111 catches on the outside. So we got, 2 years in a row now with 3 1,000-yard wide receivers. Could these guys also be taken away from Micah Medlock? Of course, both these guys have deep passing abilities. Richard Booker is probably leaving after this year. We just can't afford to keep him. We tried to re-sign him last year into the offseason, and we ended up franchise tagging him for a ton of money, and we're just not going to be able to do that this year. Marco Meredith, 337 catches, over 443 receiving yards, 6 receiving touchdowns. He had some pretty big games receiving wise. Sack wise, we're up. We got 3 guys that are in double digits and 1 guy at 8. After 4 games, we switched to the Steelers, and it really kind of helped our playbook number wise. We'll have to see where we are in relation to everybody else. Dexter Keaton, he got put in the slot towards the end of the season and started getting interceptions. He has no ability, so of course. And then Dakota Chambers, he had 1 game recently where I changed him to shutdown, gave him flat zone knockout, medium route, and lurker, and he got 3 interceptions. But despite having a ton of abilities on our safeties, they're not really doing anything. Let's look at the rest of the league. All right, so 1 guy finished behind us in passing yards. Rafael Bautista, he is an X factor. He's got no look, anchored, jukebox, inside dead eye, sleight of hand. So pretty good for him. Don Stern, does he have abilities? No, he does not have abilities. You're going to see good players without abilities be in the top 3, top 5 for sure. Abilities are hurting. CJ Stroud still getting it done. 36 years old with a star development. How about that? Let's take a look at the rush leaders. Yeah, well, Harold Gibson is the best rusher, and he's in the Chargers. So, of course, he's going to have the most rushing touchdowns. Good for him. Receiving wise, Doug Franklin. He's an outside receiver in the Dawsons, and he has smash and grab. Really good season for him. I'm definitely going to take a look into that. What he has. For an outside wide receiver, smash and grab, just short elite, and a bunch of other nonsense. That's very interesting. For sure. Because I'm definitely interested in what outside receivers can compete with the inside wide receivers. How about yardage wise? I mean, this guy here. What playbook are they in? I forget. Fuck. But Lionel Baker, star development. Did I write what the Chargers are in? I did not. I forget what the Chargers are in. We can take a look at that together. But I mean, dude, 1,700 receiving yards. How about Jamie Hitchens? Star development. Let's write down here. Chargers and Redskins. I mean, they're both. We got some big yards here. Doug Franklin, we already know what he's in. How about Evan Patterson? Titans. We'll take a look at the Titans together. Who else? All right, one more guy. Wheeler. What's he in? He's 6'4". And no ability. He's not even a star. Falcons. Take a look at them. Wrote it down. Team no abilities, man. Lionel Baker, rough. All right, and defense. Tony McDaniels, star development, leader in tackles. These guys definitely have abilities. They rose to the top. 49ers have a really good defense. Adrian Ware, leader in interceptions, star development for the Steelers. I'm just saying, I'd rather know abilities and just an overall than anything. Let's take a look at these playbooks. They're in Detroit. I wonder what that guy's in. We'll have to take a look to see where that wide receiver, what position is he in the slot. All right, now we're looking at the Commanders. Wow. Still in Washington's playbook. Okay. Okay. Titans still in Tennessee. And then one more is the Falcons. Denver. I bet you he's in the slot in Denver with no abilities. Let's look at these wide receivers. Lionel Baker's in the slot for Chargers. He's in the slot in the Commanders playbook. He's a starter and the slot guy. That guy's in the slot for Titans. And Falcons. That guy's in the slot for Falcons playbook. Alright, so what does that tell you? What's it tell you about abilities, man? Tell you about playbooks. I don't know. You tell me. You tell me what you think that means. Talking about abilities or lack thereof. Because I know my guys are 99 overall safeties with abilities, and they can't do shit as far as production. Let's see if we can get back to the AFC Championship. We are taking on the Indianapolis Colts, who we lost to last year in the AFC Championship game, I believe. So let's see if we can get this done together. We'll advance now. And we get it done. We have a tough matchup against the Bills. Always one of the best teams in the rebuild. I mean, Paul Heenan, player of the week, 343 yards, 4 passing touchdowns. Our outside linebacker, Nars, got it done with 2 sacks, so really good to see. High-scoring affair, but we outscored a really good team. Paul Heenan, like I said, 343 yards passing, 4 passing touchdowns, no interceptions. Marco Meredith kind of got held in check on the ground, but Micah Medlock coming through with 11 receptions, 177 yards, and 2 receiving touchdowns. Mr. Playoffs. Kurt Smith, 4 for 28 and 2. Preston Booker was supposed to be our secret playoff weapon, but that didn't happen. Defensively, 3 sacks for Zach and Shaq Norris, and 1 interception for David McClendon. All right, well, let's advance together in a minute. Time to advance to the playoffs. Well, not the playoffs, to the Super Bowl. We have a tough matchup against one of the most prolific teams in this rebuild, the Buffalo Bills. Just always so good in the sim. We're down 3 key ingredients to our team. One of our starting wide receivers, who is a superstar, over 90. One of our defensive ends, who's high 80s, mid 80s player, and our left tackle. So there you go. We're down some people, but we are one of the best teams in this league. First in points, first in passing yards against a pretty good defense, pretty good offense. I can't wait to check out this stack my man gave me. Gambit, protected, inside Deadeye with dashing Deadeye, pocket Deadeye, fearless. Guy said he threw for 61 touchdowns with it. So I definitely think I'll be testing that out come next season. But for now, we'll just talk about what our quarterback has and we've been rocking with. He's got bazooka. Sleight of hand, sideline Deadeye, inside Deadeye, long range Deadeye, and pass lead elite. Is this enough to get it done with Micah Medlock carrying us into the Super Bowl? Let's advance together and not waste any more time. And we're going to the Super Bowl to take on my Philadelphia Eagles. Weekly award. What do we get? How about that? Marco Meredith, 110 rush yards with 3 rushing touchdowns, 3 receptions, 27 yards. And our backup,
he's not a backup anymore, but Kramer got an interception. So there you go, taking on another team where they had some good performances as well. I mean, I'm surprised what we did rushing wise. Well, defense played absolutely great. This Steelers defense has been a nice call for us. Paul Heenan, only 222 yards passing. All Marco Meredith, 5 yards to carry. Michael Medlock did lead our team in receiving yards. Defensively, only 1 sack and 1 interception. So, not the biggest stat filler of the game, but how about that? The Eagles beating the LA Rams. They get to face the same playbook again. Hell yeah. Alright, let's get through some of these upgrades and see you for the Super Bowl. Alright, it's Super Bowl time. We have a tough matchup against 11-6 Eagles team. They are first in points against. They have a really good defense, especially on their D-line. Their O-line's good. I know that they're not a 93 overall offense, but their team, looking through them, can compete with our team for sure. They have a good playbook. So we have our a match made out for us here, and we're down our other starting wide receiver, Cliff Preston, who is a superstar, like 96 overall, 97 overall player. So we get back one receiver and we lose another. So we are down. Only him, only Cliff Preston. So, we definitely have them in the receiver department and safety. But other than that, they got better corners and everything else. So it should be a good matchup. Let's advance together and not waste any more time here. Can we get this victory? And we get the win back to the Super Bowl. We go, and Paul Heenan, the MVP of the league. I forgot to show you who won the award. I'll go do that after this. But Paul Heenan is the MVP of the league. Coach of the year we got. And those two combined to beat the Eagles 41-27. That's what I'm talking about. Weekly awards, of course. Paul Heenan, 345 passing touchdowns, or passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns. Our middle linebacker got 9 tackles in an interception. The Joshua Brazil, even though he's slow as dirt, still had 7 receptions for 153 yards and 2 receiving touchdowns. A revenge game for him. So pretty cool on that. We survived the revenge game. So there you go, 345 yards passing, 4 passing touchdowns from one Paul Heenan. Wow, we got a big step up from Corey Lawrence, 6 receptions for 119 yards. The Super Bowl mini hero here. No one knew about him, but Michael Madlock had 8 for 111 and 2. And then Rashard Booker had 4 for 46 and a touchdown. He was who we were missing last week. How about defensively? Because our defense has stepped up a little bit. Cordell Campbell, Shaq Norris, Zach Hoover, and Sean Henley all got sacked. So, yeah, how about Kramer getting another interception in the postseason? Great performance there. Rocking the Steelers playbook. So, I'm a big fan there. Hell of a job. Let's talk about some awards, right? We didn't look at the season awards. Oh, that's locked now? Oh, that's so stupid. Alright, I may have broke the simulation in a good way. We are 9-0, 36 points a game, 335 yards passing a game, 100 yards rushing a game. We're 4th in points against and 4th in rush against. Look at the schedule. I mean, look at all these points.
our first game of the year, butt sauce, and we haven't scored less than what, 34 points. Yo, okay. I was just going to go to bed soon after I uploaded this one video, the 3-4 defense video. Look, we're 9 games through, and Paul Heenan's already got 3,000 yards passing, 30 touchdowns, no interceptions. Micah Medlock, who's now like an 86 speed with like 96 acceleration or something like that, 65 receptions, 1,045 yards, and 13 receiving touchdowns. Almost 500 yards run after catch. Now we did lose Rashard Booker for 7 games, so let's see what happens. We have a nice rookie waiting to take his spot, but yo, that's crazy. Yeah, I'm gonna finish this season. I'm not going to bed. I'm riding this momentum. And then look, these two guys getting sacks in Pittsburgh's defense. So we're also doing very well in Pittsburgh's defense. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think the ability stack that I have on Paul Heenan is the stack of all stacks, and I will explain later. All right, welcome to the end of the regular season. We went 16-1. This is like one of the best teams I've ever built. First in points at 32.2, and first in passing yards at 308.2. We kind of hit a little bit of a snag with some yards down the end, losing one of our better wide receivers. So it is what it is. But Paul Heenan, 5,200 yards passing, 46 passing touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. I would have liked to see more passing touchdowns, but Marco Meredith did get 17 rushing touchdowns. And Micah Medlock got 117 receptions, 1,900 yards receiving, and 22 receiving touchdowns. Our running back had some crazy games. He had 40 catches for over 550 yards and 12 receiving touchdowns. I don't know what it is, but this guy had an amazing year. Holy shit. Sacks, pretty good for the sacks in the Steelers playbook. Let's compare to the rest of the league. I'm gonna do this and then I'm gonna go to bed. We can save the playoffs for later. Playoffs? Yeah, we're clear by 700 yards, and we're clear by 6 touchdowns. We will talk about his stack later because it is very, very important. Receiving wise, no one really. What? We had someone match us in catches at 117, but yards, nah, brah. This Evan Patterson dude's doing pretty good. So is Jamie Hitchens. There's some good ones. Doing well. Breaking records. What's Micah Medlock's career stats? Well, first of all, Paul Heenan in his short years of service has amassed some amazing records here already. Micah Medlock has gone over 1,000 yards or 1,000 receptions. He's over 17,000 yards receiving, and he's more than blown away fucking receiving touchdowns. So I don't know. Can we catch Jerry Rice? That's what I want to do. I want to catch Jerry Rice in receiving yards. So we'll have to see what happens. But it's time for the playoffs, and let's see who we're playing in the next round. It's a division round against the Buffalo Bills. Always a tough matchup in the postseason. Their playbooks are so good. As we've seen before, we are 16-1, 92 overall, 93 offense, 91 defense, just absolutely cooking. We are down our best running back, but we got some pretty good ones. We've been kind of developing, and a couple wide receivers we moved over to receiving backs.
that we picked up out of free agency at the beginning of the season. So let's advance together and see if we can continue to roll into the playoffs. And we win 31-28. Holy smokes, that was close. Let's take a look. We're all about the offensive power here. 310 yards passing, 3 passing touchdowns for Heenan. The rookie, not very good on the ground. But Micah Medlock, Kurt Smith, Cliff Preston, all coming through defensively. A couple of tackle for losses, no sacks, 1 interception from Jeremy Hutchins. So pretty nice. We got the Dolphins to go back to the Super Bowl. All right, let's clean up some things here and see if we can make it back to the Super Bowl to defend our title. All right, well, welcome to the AFC Championship game. We're looking to get back to the Super Bowl and defend our championship. We got the 12-5 Dolphins, 87s across the board. Yeah, decent team. I think they were better in the previous years. They're in both Chargers playbooks. So, they still could be tough. But look to their team, nothing really of note. No stats or anything pop off the board. So I think we have a walk-in game here to defend our championship. But we'll see. You never know when Madden's gonna Madden you. So let's advance together. See if we're going back to the Super Bowl. And we are. We're going to the Super Bowl to take on the Panthers. Wow. 30-27. Our defense hasn't really got us here, I don't think, but Paul Heenan, 302 yards and a touchdown. Donnell Street, a touchdown. We were out Marco Meredith. Hey, man, got it done. Micah Medlock, 5 from 106 and 1. Cliff Preston, 7 from 116. Doesn't matter who's on the team. We got this. Ooh, defense came through. Jalen Reed, 3 sacks, and Franklin Jenkins got a sack. The backup outside linebacker. That's crazy. All right, man. What else we got going on here? We got the Pro Bowl roster. It does not matter. Weekly awards. Jalen Reed. Wow, both the Eagles players made Player of the Week, but we're playing the Panthers. Okay. It is what it is. All right, let's get to the Super Bowl. All right, so we're at the Super Bowl against the Panthers. They're 12-5, not the greatest overall team. Looking at their stats, they are first in rushing, and they're first in rushing yards against. Pretty good defense. They're in some weird playbooks here. They're in the Vegas offense, and they're in the Seattle defense. Yeah, they don't have anybody of note. I mean, they definitely rush the ball. They got some good guys to rush the ball. They've had 3 backs score at least 5 touchdowns. I don't know, man. I don't think they stand a chance, in my opinion. This should be a blowout. But let's look at the yearly awards before we advance. Paul Heenan with another MVP, beating out P.J. Harper of the Eagles. Peter Gaffney, a.k.a. Sean Payton, with another Coach of the Year. Offensive Player of the Year, Micah Medlock beats out his teammate Marco Meredith and Paul Heenan. Thaddeus Williams is Defensive Player of the Year. Matthew Collins, Offensive Rookie of the Year. John Kramer, Defensive Rookie of the Year. Wait. Defensive Player of the Year is Thad Williams, Offensive Rookie. Matthew Collins and Johnny Kramer, Defensive Rookie of the Year. Best QB is Paul Heenan. Marco Meredith, Best RB. Best Wide Receiver, Micah Medlock. But we can't get the best O-line. Okay, bud. Thad Williams, it's us, the Raiders. A Dolphin here. A lot of Raiders if it's not a Bronco. So we have a tough division. But that's the yearly awards. and let's advance together. I think we're getting 2 Super Bowls in a row. Maybe a good time to talk about our team, why we've been so good. Of course, we have the stack on Paul Heenan, which we'll go over at another time. We have a 99 overall running back with satellite on him, and I think that really took his numbers and Paul Heenan's numbers to the next level because this guy went over 500 yards receiving. I think it's because of satellite. And then our 3 wide receivers, we're going to be losing Richard Booker for sure. Yeah, we just can't keep him. We franchise tagged him the last 2 years, and we're running out of money. But we got Hugh Cash. What a name. 6'4", fast. He was a superstar, drafted him, and he filled in for a couple games, but he'll be the next man up. And there you go. I think Cliff Preston lost his superstar abilities. That sucks. Wow. But that's part of the reason why we threw for so many yards, along with our quarterback stack. So I just want to point that out because both these guys had deep out elite and short elite and acrobat, and they were killing it. And Michael Medlock only had 86 speed, and he was killing it. Speed, not as much. I mean, he had one of his best years, and he only has 86 speed. So, I don't know. What does that tell you about speed? Anyway, side tangent. Let's advance together. Expecting Super Bowl number 2 in a row, and I think this would be 4 or 5 overall since we started this rebuild. I mean, I know we're at 2039, but it's all about one man's career. Trying to break Rice's record for yards in a career. Oh, yeah. I mean, we know it. 49-21. Weekly awards. Paul Heenan, 391 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. Wagner had an interception. They scored 21 points. Not happy about it. Season recap. Paul Heenan, 2-time Super Bowl MVP. The awards, yearly awards, Paul Heenan, Peter Cafferty, Micah Medlock, just all Broncos all the time. All right, there you go. Paul Heenan, 391, 3 touchdowns and 1. Wow. Why did Clemens get more carries than Marco Meredith? I mean, the carries are all over here. You got Donnell Street, Marco Meredith, and Rashard Clemens carrying the ball. I don't know what's going on there. They probably have my depth chart all fucked up. Micah Medlock, 7 for 135 and a touchdown. Mr. Playoffs. Cliff Preston, 10 for 117. Richard Booker goes out with a touchdown and a champion. So there you go. The backup tight end with a 1-yard receiving touchdown. Hoover and Imani Porter get a sack. Imani Porter will be leaving us. Can't pay him. And Dante Wagner gets the interception. And there you go. We won another Super Bowl. Let's go, baby. Who got injured? Was it Marco Meredith? Yep, that explains that. Dislocated elbow in the playoffs. Thank God we got some depth, and our team really isn't built around running the ball. But he was doing very, very well in the simulation. And we are minus 9 point. Oh boy, we got some salary cap problems we got to fix. Anyway, what a rebuild this has been. Welcome to the 2040 NFL season. We are the 2-time back-to-back NFL Super Bowl champions. Actually, I think we're 7-time champions now, but that's for the franchise in a whole. That they won Super Bowls before we got here, but I think we've won 4 and we've won 2 in a row now. Big switch that came. Steelers defensive playbook, and here we have the Steelers. Look like a pretty good team. 88 across the board, starting the season off with a good matchup here. Thursday night prime time football.
We've definitely had to let some players go. We've had to draft some players. We are up against the salary cap. Some players aging out. We lost one safety. We lost a D tackle, but he was like a backup guy because we drafted another nose tackle that was bigger and stronger. Like big space eater. You want that nose tackle in the 3-4. Our guy's 372, 372 pounds. We have new outside linebackers, which that sucks. Um, Drafting 32 overall in the first round, not getting premier pass rushers, doing the best we can. We got a guy who's like 70 overall, 21 years old, so he's going to take a year or two to kind of build up if we don't replace him before that. Our corners are just like mid 80s. They're not anything special. It's all about the outside linebackers. Now, one of our DNs actually is good enough to play outside pass rusher. So he's the right end. He was the defensive tackle last year, but we moved our other DN into the pass rush DT, just as good. And we have the right end who has abilities, superstar X Factor, as a outside pass rusher sub package. Yeah, they put Chris Jones on DN sometimes, and you just saw him get a sack in a playoff game against the Texans. So there you go. We also lost our best wide receiver. We had one of our best wide receivers. We still have Micah Medlock, but he's down on 84 speed. And Booker, you could say maybe our third best corner, but he was over 90 something with Superstar. He's being replaced by a 6'4" white guy with speed that we pretty much sat last year, and he got in some playing time. Had to replace offensive linemen, I believe, and we brought another guy back. We had to sign. We're doing what we can. We're trying to keep it going. I think we're heading to a really bad spot where our cap in a year or two, because trying to keep the band together, I've had to do some restructuring, and that's gonna fuck us. But here we go. Let's see if we can defend our two back-to-back Super Bowls, and we start on Thursday Night Football. Let's simulate together and see if we can get this win. And we lost 33-10. So that's not a great start. All right. See you halfway or at the end of the season. So we've reached the playoffs, the 2040 playoff wildcard round. We are 11-6. Kind of felt like we limped around for this season. Had our struggles with injuries, especially at a running back. Really good running back, but I think he's like 30 years old now. He's injured for the second time this year. Like both times have been for 6 weeks. Unbelievable. We're on the road against the Jets. They're 88s across the board. Numbers wise, it doesn't look like they have a great team, like where they rank. But I believe they have a really good defense. But we're first in points, second in pass yards, 6th in rush, despite having running backs that are in like the low to mid 80s with some coaching boosts. So there you go. Defense has been kind of a struggle, but we kind of knew that going into the season with not having really any outside linebackers. Let's look at the stats. Paul Heenan, he would have went over 4,500 yards by 11 yards had he not got hurt here for a portion of a game. He had 41 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Running back, really big drop off here. I mean, Marco Meredith, this is probably why he got hurt. He was absolutely destroying it at 6.8 yards a carry. We should probably look at what he has here. He's down to a 95 overall, but Satellite with Steamroller, Second Win, and Short Out Elite. Last couple of years, he's been really good with that kind of stack there. So a little bit of a tip there. Micah Medlock still at 109 receptions, but only 1,500 yards. Excuse me. He is coming down a little bit. I mean, look, he's 84 speed.
Doesn't matter what his acceleration is anymore. He's just not going to, have a lot of yards after catch or run after catch like he used to. But I mean, still 109 catches, still getting it done here. 25 touchdowns, just ridiculous. How about Hugh Cash? Huge Cash, 6'4", 226. And he was a superstar when we drafted him. Got down to a star. He should probably go back up after this season. Cliff Preston, down year for him. Also missed 2 games. Kurt Smith, this guy's always getting hurt. And not really at much of a receiving game after our running back last year got like almost 600 yards receiving. So that was pretty crazy. Now we have, nobody. I mean, this converted wide receiver, Jahlil Cobb, really, he's not getting away from anybody. And then sacks-wise, Zach Hoover doing pretty good along with Jalen Reed. Zach Hoover, I believe, is he's the rush defensive tackle. And then Jalen Reed actually plays as a rush outside person. Yeah, he identifies as a pass rusher on the inside and outside. He's got abilities, but just nah. And then, not a lot of interceptions here. Defense, was so-so. But we knew that was going to happen, kind of taking a step backwards. So there you go. Now I want to talk about some defenses here. The Seahawks, Packers, Eagles. We've got a lot of teams with a lot of sacks. And let's take a look at the leader in sacks. This is where we question, do abilities matter? Look at Denario Franklin. He's a star development. I think this is like back-to-back years where the leading tackler didn't have a development. Now Joe Claiborne does. I mean, I don't know about anything about those abilities being anything special. Probably just more playbook, and his team's sucking at offense, so he's getting a lot of tackles. John Thomas. Now here's our first leader in sacks in a while with an X factor. This blitz superstar ability, I think it's pretty overpowered. Mr. Big Stop and Instant Rebate. See a lot of sack leaders that do have abilities with Instant Rebate on it. Is that something? We'll have to find out. I have to keep doing this. See, his teammate also got a lot of sacks. They are in the Baltimore Ravens. He's an 88 overall with a morale boost, but he's only a star at 34 years old. How much did that blitz radar ability help him? Andrew Hayward, he's a star. He's in the Eagles. He's in the Eagles playbook as well. Who else? Jamie Peck definitely has one. And I'm not sure about Crisp. Mike Crisp, another star. So you be the judge. Abilities or no abilities. Joe Landry, leader in interceptions. He's superstar, but recuperation, persistence, and strip specialist, like, what does that have to do with anything? You might as well not have any abilities, right? Taylor Love, not even a star. Adam O'Neal, not even a star. And that's a pretty crazy rookie right there. Of course, they're in the Bills playbook, but he's 6'3", 223, 21 years old, up to an 85 with the boost. All right, well, that's enough of looking at abilities and whatnot. We got a tough road matchup here. Who are we down? Down our halfback, and we're down one of our best corners. So that's awesome. Let's advance together. Well, it continues. The playoff run continues. Looking to get our 3rd Super Bowl in a row. We beat the Jets 42-13. Let's take a look at this game. Paul Heenan, 313 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and an interception. Donnell Street, 3.1 yards, a carry for 86 yards, and The backup running back, 2 carries for 1 yard. Touchdowns, that's what I like to see. Cliff Preston, Micah Medlock. Micah Medlock always shows up in the playoffs, getting it done there. And you definitely know the defense stepped up. Zach Hoover, Jalen Reed, the usual names. Dudley Gates, good game for him. Sack and a half and an interception. Well, half a sack. And Juan Kramer, I feel like Juan Kramer always gets interceptions in the playoffs, Mr. Clutch. So we got a tough matchup again on the road against the 13-4 Ravens. 87s across the board. A lot of greens on that board right there. So let's do some magic. Let's do some strategizing, and then we'll advance together. All right, well, for a trip to get back to the AFC Championship game, we got to go through the Ravens in Baltimore. Always a tough place to play. Let's see if we can get it done here. And we do. 24-10. The defense really showing up in the playoffs. Let's go take a look at this game. Paul Heenan, only 247 yards passing with 2 passing touchdowns. Donnell Street really didn't get it done, but Micah Medlock with the rushing touchdown, and he went over 100 yards receiving. Well, exactly 100 yards receiving and a receiving touchdown. Hugh Cash with a touchdown. So more of a defensive game here. You knew it was going to be tough. Jalen Reed, Ken Anderson, Zach Hoover, and Sean Henley. The big nose tackle, 372 pounds, getting the sack. There we go. That's what we like to see. Now we're taking on division rival, the Chargers. We got to go on the road for a 3rd straight game. This might be our hardest road to the playoffs. Let's take a look, or to the Super Bowl, I should say. Paul Heenan and McClendon both with Players of the Week. Let's go. 1 win away from going back to the Super Bowl to defend our back-to-back championships. We got a division rival here, the Los Angeles Chargers. 3rd road game in a row. Let's go. Let's advance together. And if we make it to the Super Bowl, I think we get both of our top corner and our wide receiver back. And we're going back to the Super Bowl against the Packers. Let's go. Let's check out what happened in this game. 18-24. Of course, we scored the 24 points. Paul Heenan, 315 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Donnell Street just hanging in tough there for our starting running back. Micah Medlock, another game over 100 yards. I was going to say 1,000, but 8 for 127. No touchdown, though. Cliff Preston, 8 for 84. Huge Cash, 5 for 68 and a touchdown. And Donnell Street gets a receiving touchdown. Defensively, Zach Hoover gets a sack. I think he had a sack every game so far in the playoffs. We lost the turnover battle, which is crazy. I want to go back and look at this game. So they scored 18 unanswered in the 4th quarter. Wow. Yeah, I mean, this Rafael Bautista guy's in. He's like top 5 in passing yards, so that's awesome. We got the Packers. We'll check them out in a second. Let's look at the weekly awards. Paul Heenan, Zach Hoover. There you go. So, nice. All right, let's advance and check these guys out. It's time to advance. The Packers are healthy. We're completely healthy. The Packers have a really good defense. A lot of greens there. Doing pretty good in rush yards. Other than that, I think we got them beat. So let's advance together and see if we can go for number 3. Let's go. We get the win. 3 in a row. Back to back to back. Super Bowl champions. 4 times AFC champions. 8 times Super Bowl champions. 3 in a row. Super Bowl MVPs for Paul Heenan. That's what I'm talking about, man. Heenan, 262 and 2. Our nose tackle gets a sack of all people. Again, I forgot to check on the yearly award winners, but that's not what's important here. What's important is winning championships and breaking records. Paul Heenan, 262 and 2, as we said. Marco Meredith comes back. Now, he got held in check a little bit with his average, but still pretty good. Paul Heenan got some on the ground, but Micah Medlock 10 for 117 and a touchdown. Cliff Preston 8 for 83. It's a good defense, so we had to kind of dink and dunk our way down the field. Sean Henley, Ken Anderson, and Jalen Reed all get sacks. Juan Kramer, Mr. Playoffs, always coming through with an interception. I want to talk about Zach Hoover and Jalen Reed. Both of them now are at least superstars. So we have two superstar to superstar X Factor DNs on our team. And what a successful rebuild this has been. I mean, it only took us till 20, 38, 39, and 40 to get our dynasty in board there. But we had to do a lot with our cap, and finally got playbook right and abilities right. Different quarterback, but what do we have, like a couple lost years there with using the Broncos playbook and it not being the Broncos playbook anymore. So we had to go back to changing that, and then it was on defense. So Steelers defense and the Rams offense, man, what a deadly combination. Plus our ability stacks on Micah Medlock and Paul Heenan, the quarterback. So it's kind of this is not just about the rebuild. This is more about the learning process of trying to see what abilities work, offensive, defensively, what playbooks work. So as I'm trying to figure out stuff for you guys, I'm doing it myself here too. So it's been a fun rebuild.